everyone. Rachel here, your Director of Communications, and I'm here with the Reverend Molly Bosscher, the President of our Standing Committee. You know, it is a time of transition in our diocese, and times of transition always bring anxiety, questions, and fears. And that context is also in the bigger soup context of an uncertain time in our state, in our country, in our communities, in the world. And so we wanted to take some time this evening to clear up some questions and really lean in. Again, we've been talking about this year our commitment to transparency and accountability. So we're just going to take a few minutes, and I have a few questions for you, Molly, if that's okay.
Sounds good, Rachel.
All right, so first things first,
Yeah.
I am not a cradle Episcopalian, and so the first time I went to a diocesan convention, Diocese of Indianapolis, they were electing for all of these different bodies, including the Standing Committee, and I was like, I don't even know what that is. So can you give us like the Cliff's Notes? What is a Standing Committee, and then what makes our Standing Committee unique right now compared to standing committees in other dioceses?
I would love to talk about a standing committee, and in fact, Rachel, one of the things that we did as part of our election to the standing committee is we had a retreat, and we looked in the canons and constitutions of the Episcopal Church and looked at every single time standing committee was mentioned. And I'm sure I'm not going to mention all of them because there were many.
So it's a real simple thing,
yeah,
what
exactly,
you're saying.
exactly. But diocesan council thinks about money.
Okay.
They're the ones who help us budget. They're the ones who kind of say, this is what we set aside for this position or this kind of ministry in the diocese. And the standing committee is kind of it's the bishop's advisory committee. That's
Okay.
the way that we say it. And there's a couple of other things that the standing committee does a lot of. There's a couple of other particular things that the standing committee does. And one is when a person is in the ordination process at a particular place, they are interviewed by the standing committee. So that's one of the other places where you kind of see a lot of words about the standing committee and the canons and constitutions of the Episcopal Church. The other thing that we do is when we don't have a bishop, there's a lot of work that we have to do.
Right, and you are volunteers, is that right?
Yes, I am a volunteer. I am a full-time rector at St. Andrews in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So, yes, we are volunteers. But it's an endless job at this point in time.
Right.
Because there's a lot of things that just kind of have to get done. And right now, you know, we have these two amazing dioceses, and now we're one, right?
Yes.
So we have Legacy East and Legacy West. And then there's this other question. How do we come together and make things work well? How are our systems coming together? What are we supposed to be doing? And so we have an equal number right now on our standing committee of Legacy West folks and Legacy East folks.
Great. Yeah.
Because we wanted to make sure that we kind of kept that balance right. And so, I mean, in some ways, you know, like how a vestry, you know, theoretically should think about mission and vision and all of those things. Those are some of the things we talk about in terms of the standing committee of the new Episcopal Diocese of the Great Lakes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you're a group of volunteers,
Yes.
lay and clergy,
Yes.
Legacy East, Legacy West.
Yes.
You have very specific canonical responsibilities at any time,
Yes.
and you've got this bonus responsibility now of being the ecclesiastical authority.
Yes.
Sounds like a lot of work. And so this is a question that I get every time I visit a parish all across the state, all across the diocese.
Yes.
I get this question in my inbox. We see it on social media a lot.
Yes.
We're a new diocese now, so why don't we have a bishop yet? Why aren't we calling a bishop? What's going on there?
Such a great question. And a bishop would be really convenient. And our system, the Episcopal system, I mean, Episcopal means bishop. So really, we
It's
require.
kind of our thing.
It is our thing, and we kind of require a bishop
Yeah.
to work well.
Yeah.
Which it's another reason that we're doing our best, but sometimes things get dropped and things are a little weird, and that is absolutely accurate. So I think all of us in this system right now are feeling the lack of a bishop.
Mm-hmm.
And we've kind of things have been a little rocky with us and bishops.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to say that directly. I mean, we had Bishop Hoagland's the event with Bishop Hoagland, and then he resigned, and then we got Bishop Prince a little while later, and then he had to resign from.
And I just want to stop right here and say, if you don't know what those things are about, we're going to not cover those in this video because we want to keep this short and sweet.
Yes.
But if you want to be read in, if you want to understand what this past is, reach out to me, info@greatlakesepiscopal.org, and we'll connect you with somebody who can help you understand this kind of shared history, really this shared baggage that we bring to the question of bishop.
So the way that you put it, we have some baggage with bishops, and I will say it goes back further than Bishop Hoagland. And in fact, kind of the more and more we go back, we see stories, and there's stories that I hear from my colleagues about things that have happened that have not been good in our relationship with bishops.
Those hurts can go pretty deep.
They can. And I am going to offer a metaphor here. I hope it's an okay metaphor.
We love metaphors.
Okay, so, I myself am a divorced woman. And there were, divorce is always and already a tragedy, and it's not something that anyone wants to do. And there were very specific reasons that I got divorced. Mm-hmm. And in order to be healthy in the next relationship, I have to do my work about those things. I have to make sure, at least I should say, I want to make sure that I do not fall into those same pitfalls again.
Sure.
Those same things that damaged me, and those same things that hurt so much when it happened the first time.
Sure.
So that is part of the reason that we don't have a bishop yet.
So we need to get to know ourselves better.
We do. We need to have a mission statement, for an example. So we have a vision of what this new diocese could become.
Right.
Before we, you don't just want to pick anyone. We need the right bishop. We need somebody who will walk along with us and lead us and love us. And we can call bishop for 15 years. I mean, maybe that's a little bit of a positive way of thinking about it, but that's what I hope.
Right.
I want longevity, and I want
stability.
And joy, and somebody who is creative and who leads us in really good ways, and we don't mind following,
Right.
And in order to get someone like that, in order to find the right person for that job, it's going to take us a little while longer.
And we're doing that work.
Oh, we are.
So friends, if you watched our latest Becoming update, you'll know that I said the Standing Committee and Diocesan Council have both empowered me to bring together a working group of people to imagine, to discern and pray, and to communicate with all of you, regardless of whether you're in this working group or not. Who is it that God is calling us to be? What is God calling us to do? So that vision and mission. So we're doing that work, but it's not.
Yep. It's slow.
Right. It's not instant results.
No.
Just like to go back to, we're a group of people, and to go back to your single, one-on-one person metaphor, you don't go to therapy once and you're like,
right.
Got it.
No. The other thing that we're doing right now is we have the Reverend Dr. Randall Warren is leading this group on the study of the episcopacy. And, that sounds, again, like such one of those Episcopal words, right? But episcopacy just means like a bishop. And so they have come up with, they've done a survey of kind of the sorts of things that we want, but they've also come up with a list of books and resources that we can use in our churches and with each other.
I'll link those again below. Or above, wherever it ends up, whatever platform you're watching this on. so that if you missed that, the times that we've shared it, you can access it again.
Mm-hmm. And these are things that we want people to do in their churches.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, like sometimes maybe, I mean, I grew up in really small churches, and I'm quite sure that the small churches I grew up would have never had a bishop's visit. You know?
Sure, yeah.
So maybe it's been a minute since you've had a bishop's visit.
Right.
So why do we still need a bishop? Why do we still need to connect with the diocese? These are the questions these books can answer.
Yeah.
And
All
if
right.
you have other questions, reach out.
Thank you so much for all that context on
Yes.
why we don't have a bishop yet and why we're not in the visibly active public search. Now, we need to clear a little bit more air before I let you go.
Let's go.
So in our standing committee updates, and even as far back as at our primary convention, we talked about, you know, maybe looking for an assisting bishop to come in to help, because our beloved assisting bishop, the Right Reverend Skip Adams, this week is his last week with us, and so we know that we need some pastoral guidance, but we
Yes.
also need, speaking as a staff person,
Yes.
I need a person who is my boss.
Yep.
Love you, love the standing committee, but a group of people for a boss, it doesn't work. Things fall through the cracks.
It's a mess.
So we've been hearing about, we're looking for an assisting bishop.
Right.
And then this week we had one of those breakdowns
We did.
in process
We did.
that happens when a group of people tries to act as a person.
Yep.
And on Episcopal News Service, an ad is public. It's there now, calling for a full-time person to come in for 2 years, and it's not a bishop.
Right.
There are different requirements, and it was for people who aren't on the standing committee. It was out of left field.
Yep.
And it's caused some confusion. So let's clear up what's going on.
Let's talk about that. Okay, so what our first and foremost desire was as standing committee is to get an assisting bishop.
Mm-hmm.
Now there are 4 different kinds of bishops that we could talk about. Assisting, and then you remember how Bishop Prince was a provisional bishop,
Sure.
and then we have a diocesan bishop, right?
That's the big bishop that we're
That's
like, why
the
don't
big
we have
bishop,
one?
right?
Okay.
That's what we want. And then Bishop Prince was our provisional bishop, kind of in this time until we decided, all right, we want you as our bishop diocesan, all right? But provisional bishop is kind of about, assisting bishop is how we secede or we do not cede ecclesiastical authority.
Okay.
What things does the standing committee want to continue to have authority over, and what things doesn't the standing committee want to have authority over? So our goal was to find a full-time assisting bishop to help us.
Okay.
Guess what? Nada. We found no one. Like, no one.
What
right?
were some of the challenges that made, like,
Oh, people
are
have
we
to.
unlovable?
Oh my gosh, no, come on. We are the most lovable people in this country. Did you hear that? We are so lovable. This is an amazing diocese. This is so many wonderful people. But one of the challenges is that a lot of times once a person has been a bishop, like they don't necessarily want to move to another place. They've already kind of had this place of retirement. They don't always move, and we really wanted someone to be here.
Yeah.
So we could not find anyone.
Okay.
So that was kind of piece one. And we spent like a bunch of November and December in that process trying to look for that. And one of the pieces, like we say, we really need is we need a person to help supervise the staff.
Right.
Well, and then so the question came up, like, you know, it doesn't have to be a bishop who supervises the staff.
Sure.
It could be a person who supervises the staff.
Bishops are people too, but it
Excellent
could be
point.
It could be a different kind of person.
A person without the pointy hat.
Yeah,
right?
no miters.
Right, no miter. and so one of the things that we kind of have worked on is, and we're calling it a chief executive officer,
Okay.
and that would be somebody who could come in and help supervise the staff and come in so that we're not making some of the mistakes that we're making.
Sure.
Because as you say, it's really hard. We are a committee, we are volunteers. I have a full-time job, you know?
Right.
So how do we do all of that?
Right.
And so that is one thing. We are looking for that as we continue to discern.
Okay.
So the other thing we're continuing to discern is, can we find an assisting bishop who isn't full-time?
Okay.
So we're looking for that as well.
So we haven't completely abandoned that road.
No. But we're at this point in time, I would say your standing committee is in the process of discernment.
Yes.
Which kind of means that we are trying a bunch of different things all at the same time and seeing what the Spirit is up to.
That sounds like a really holy and important job, and it doesn't sound easy.
And it's messy.
Sure.
Right? It's messy. And so there are a couple of other things that we're still we're still exploring that I just don't quite feel comfortable kind of talking about, because we're still kind of in the new stages of them. But we're looking for this position because, as you say, our staff desperately needs someone to be the executive officer, to make decisions, to kind of say, like, in some ways, the buck stops here.
Right.
You know, because I don't have that authority.
Sure.
You know, I am the head of the standing committee, but my authority is much more like, hey, if we kind of move in this direction.
Sure.
Instead, I don't have the authority to hire or fire.
And
I don't want that authority.
Sure. And it's asking a lot of you and volunteers to be, you know, a boss isn't just because we're a wild and kooky bunch on the staff, but we really are grown-ups.
An amazing and kooky bunch.
Thank you. We really are grown-ups, and it's not that you're saying we need a babysitter, but we need someone almost as a traffic director.
Yes.
To help us, like, where are we prioritizing our time?
Yeah.
Because there are a million things we could do.
There are.
And it's hard. And those are day-to-day, you know, from your job experiences, I'm sure those are day-to-day questions.
Yep.
Right? And that's so in the weeds. And again, group of volunteers. So,
and I can find them out, but sometimes, like, it takes me 3 hours to answer one question.
Right.
You know, and that's just not sustainable.
Right.
For our standing committee or for our staff.
Right. All right. So this is a bit longer than our normal updates, but we are, again, I'm really grateful you came to talk with me and to talk with us. We are committed to transparency and accountability. If you have any questions, you can reach the staff. A good catch-all email is info@greatlakesepiscopal.org. That comes to me and I'll direct it to the right person. You can call either our diocesan house here in Grand Rapids, and I'll put that number in the description of this video. You can call our financial offices if you need help with finances or benefits in your parish, and those are in Saginaw, so I'll leave that number as well. If you want to reach the standing committee, you can email them at standingcommittee@greatlakesepiscopal.org. Very creative email addresses here, but hopefully you will feel empowered and free to reach out to us if you have any questions. Thank you for your patience with us as we work through uncharted water. You know, I love the water metaphors. Uncharted waters. And I'm just so grateful to be in this ministry with you and with all of you as we continue to walk the way of love together in these new and interesting times for our diocese. So be well, and again, reach out anytime you have any questions. Thanks, friends.
Thank you.